Breaking news. ESPN's very own narrative spin doctor, Monica McNutt, just swerved off the Logic Expressway to drag Caitlin Clark while Angel Reese was out here reenacting a WWE main event. Now, where was all this righteous outrage when Clark was getting tossed around like she was in a bar brawl with unpaid debt collectors? Crickets, not a whisper. But suddenly, now that the script calls for Angel to be the misunderstood heroine, it's DEFCON 1. We're going headfirst into a double standard so massive, LeBron would fake a knee injury just watching it. Yes, our high priestess of performative commentary, Monica McNutt, has returned. She wakes up each morning, brews her hypocrisy tea, and bows before her altar of, depends on who did it. Caitlin Clark gets bodied like she's auditioning for an NFL Blitz package. Not a word. You could hear the silence between Stephen A. Smith's monologues echo through the ESPN hallway. But Angel Reese flicks a wrist or throws a glare, and suddenly Monica's delivering a keynote about sportsmanship and emotional intelligence, like she's running for office. Fast forward. Angel gets physical, again, and Monica's on TV like she's hosting a masterclass in chaos theory. One shove from Reese becomes a national crisis. Monica activates like a Marvel origin story, turning into a fusion of Captain America, Gloria Steinem, and Oprah. This was a clean, oh, now's my chance to get a swipe in. No, let me take it and get a swipe in because I hate her. That girl that wears 22 over there in Iowa. And then look at our soft-ass teammates. Look at, the sack of potatoes doing absolutely nothing while Caitlin Clark sits on the floor. No, nobody stands up for it. Nalissa, have fun in Dallas, honey. See, you wouldn't want to be you. We had to bring in some real teammates, but what did Caitlin Clark do? What did Caitlin Clark do in this situation? Accountability? Oh yes, but only if your jersey says Clark on the back. If you're Caitlin, you better not breathe hard in someone's direction without getting called out for cultural insensitivity. Let's be honest. Caitlin Clark could get decked mid-drive, have her arm yanked out of its socket, and Monica would still be on ESPN talking about how it's a character-building moment. And all that talk of supporting women in sports, apparently it has a disclaimer at the bottom that says, unless her name is Caitlin Clark. The second Clark enters the conversation, Monica's women supporting women energy vanishes like a Snapchat streak. Remember that moment when Caitlin was shoved to the hardwood like she just skipped out on Rent? Monica was nowhere to be found. The studio was quieter than a church basement. ESPN's producers probably started Googling, do we care about consistency? And then gave up. But let Angel throw a little attitude after a bucket. Boom, Monica's in the studio. Lights, camera, lecture, sirens, graphic packages. This isn't even about basketball anymore. It's about McNutt's full-time job of narrative crafting. 1 minute she's cheering for letting women play physical. The next she's having an emotional breakdown because Clark dared to play through contact. And no, this isn't a one-time gaffe. This is McNutt law. If Clark does it, it's arrogance. If someone does it to Clark, it's empowerment. Catchy slogan. Terrible journalism. What do we have right here? Because Caitlin Clark did take quite the beating last year. Was it just Angel Reese or did other players decide to take some cheap shots at Caitlin? Oh, it was other players. As interesting, Chicago Sky. We're good. Oh, whoa. Did you see what Caitlin Clark did? What did she do after a hard foul? She got up and walked away because she's not a classless piece of trash. Oops, did I say that out loud? My bad. Welcome to the ESPN Matrix, where objectivity is on life support and Monica McNutt is the minister presiding over the funeral. There's no balance, just a non-stop cycle of framing every play Clark's involved in like it's part of a greater social justice documentary. Kennedy Carter. Kennedy. Dejanay Carrington. Tierra McCown. Oh, look at Izzy Magnabor going straight for the head. Oh, there's Angel Reese again. There's Dana Evans. And guess what we did last season? We did nothing but play ball. Remember when Caitlin got wrecked in back-to-back games? ESPN turned it into a feel-good montage about hustle. Passion, they called it. Determination. Meanwhile, Clark's checking to make sure she still has working limbs. Monica, probably drafting a tweet about how this builds mental toughness. And let's not overlook the transformation of Caitlin Clark from basketball icon to walking scapegoat. This is the girl who dragged an entire sport into prime time. The one putting up numbers so ridiculous they're breaking score tickers. She's turning casual viewers into diehards, and yet she's constantly portrayed as the problem, because she refuses to be anything but elite. Translation: she's not following Monica's mood-based manual of acceptability. McNutt wants us to celebrate women's sports. Sure, but only under her aesthetic. Strong is fine. Competitive is okay. But if you get fouled, just smile politely and whisper, "Thank you for the lesson." Monica's vision of equality is basically Caitlin Clark being the league's emotional punching bag, while ESPN turns every hard foul into a teachable moment for white humility. You could write a book, 101 Ways to Rebrand Assault, when it's not against your favorite player, featuring Monica McNutt on every page. Angel Reese. Is that better? If I breathe like that, is that better? Showing that I'm all discombobulated, I can't think straight. Caitlin Clark knew it was a flagrant foul. And she got up, and she hit her free throws. She didn't turn it into a whole song and dance. She didn't turn it into a theatric play. She didn't turn it into a whole performance. She didn't do anything like that. Angel Reese, on the other hand, she walks back and forth and chases Caitlin Clark down, doing that clout-chasing thing that Angel Reese does, reliving the glory days. She sits on the check-in table, hears absolutely no racial slurs, hears absolutely no mean sounds, hears absolutely nothing but boos being rained down from Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And of course, the WNBA releases statement, Monica McNutt, you do realize that those things never happen, right? Even Stephen A. Smith, yes, that Stephen A., the man who could yell a thesis at a brick wall and still get a standing ovation, was left without a hot take for once. That's how deep the Caitlin Clark backlash spiral has gone. We're talking about the undisputed champion of sports verbosity, a man who could turn a paper cut on the bronze finger into a 45-minute monologue. And yet, he stared into the chaos surrounding Clark, blinked, and had the nerve to go quiet. If that doesn't tell you the situation's cooked, nothing will, because what's happening here isn't just absurd, it's a masterclass in gaslighting. Caitlin Clark gets elbowed in the chin, blindsided on screens, checked like she's in the NHL, and all we hear is the tumbleweed rolling through ESPN studios. Those same talking heads who act like it's a federal offense when Draymond Green sneezes on the court. Now they're too shy to speak. They vanish like integrity in a poorly edited highlight package. But the minute Clark shoots a logo 3 and dares to make eye contact with the rim, now she's the problem. A menace. A disrespectful diva in sneakers, and somehow, this tidal wave of overreaction always finds its emotional lighthouse in Monica McNutt. While Clark is out here being body-checked into next week, Monica's in studio ready to host a town hall on emotional maturity and tone. The woman who once begged for physical play in women's basketball suddenly can't handle a smoke. We went from, let them be aggressive, to, Clark blinked, call the hotline, real fast. Angel Reese can go full contact linebacker, and Monica's commentary turns into spoken word poetry about passion and resilience. Meanwhile, Caitlin gets dropped mid-drive like she forgot to pay her rent, and Monica's only concern is whether or not Clark's existence made someone feel uncomfortable. We've reached the point where ESPN would rather do a 5-part docuseries on Clark's facial expressions than acknowledge she's being fouled like it's a contact sport. And let's talk about the hypocrisy Olympics Monica's competing in. Gold medals across the board. She's flipping standards faster than a short-order cook on Brunch Rush. One week it's, strong women should stand their ground. The next it's, Caitlin needs to learn humility. If Clark donates to charity, Monica wants to know why it wasn't to the right cause. If Clark smiles after a bucket, she's cocky. If she doesn't, she's cold. It's not analysis, it's personal. Wrapped in a ribbon of self-righteousness and served with a side of agenda. This is no longer sports journalism. It's content creation with a villain of the week. And spoiler alert, Clark's always cast as the bad guy. Why? Because she's dominant, unapologetic, and refuses to shrink. That's not a crime. That's the blueprint. But instead of celebrating that, ESPN has decided to treat her like she's a problem to be solved. Monica's takes are less about elevating the game and more about gatekeeping who gets to shine. And it's no accident Clark's always on the wrong end of her commentary. What's even more ridiculous is how fans have started keeping receipts. People who aren't even die-hard WNBA watchers are side-eyeing ESPN wondering why one player is being treated like a walking scandal for, being good at basketball. When the casuals can smell bias, you're not subtle, you're sloppy. So what's the next move? Are we going to implement a Clark clause in the rulebook that says she can only shoot if no one's feelings get hurt? Maybe Monica's next segment will be on how Caitlin's ponytail is too aggressive and how dribbling at full speed violates the sacred energy of the court. If ESPN wants to go full parody, they might as well launch a Monica-led spin-off called Clark Watch, where every week she breaks down Caitlin's body language like a CIA profiler. And we're not saying you can't critique athletes. Bring the fire. Hold everyone accountable. But if the only smoke you've got is aimed at one player while the rest of the league gets applause for flagrant fouls, then you're not a commentator. You're a character in a scripted drama. Monica isn't analyzing Clark's game. She's narrating her downfall like it's a reality show arc. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark just keeps doing what greatness does, staying quiet, stacking wins, and letting her performance speak louder than any ESPN panel. While Monica's busy turning basketball coverage into performance art, Caitlin's rewriting records and forcing networks to air games they used to skip. So let's stop pretending Monica's takes are anything but agenda fuel. She's not the voice of reason. She's the voice of whatever narrative ESPN is chasing this week. And fans, we see it, we hear it, and we're done pretending it's normal. Monica can keep spinning, but the spin cycle's broken. Clark doesn't need ESPN's approval to be great. She's already living rent-free in every highlight, every pre-game show, and every think piece trying to dissect her every move. Stay tuned for next week's saga of how Caitlin's breathing pattern disrespects the game, featuring Monica McNutt live from her echo chamber of selective outrage. Until then, Caitlin Clark will be busy, breaking records, elevating the league, and brushing off elbows like confetti. Because real stars don't need a narrative, they are the narrative.